Honestly, it's so delicious.
Hey, welcome back guys to another episode of Garth Grills. Today we are going to smoke a chicken on the Weber Kettle and we're gonna make some beer can chicken. So, my slight twist to today's episode is that I'm not using beer. I'm gonna go for using a kombucha for the first time. I've never done this before. I've done plenty of beer can chickens, and in all honesty guys, when it comes to smoking or barbecuing a beer can chicken, most of what you're looking for is that water inside the drink to get evaporated and help keep your chicken nice and moist. So in my case, I'm gonna go for a kombucha, and we'll see. We'll see if there's any flavor differences, but I'm curious and I kind of wanted a booch, so here we go. So, how am I gonna be doing a beer can chicken today? First, I got myself a chicken, pretty average sized chicken. This one is 4.8 pounds. Got it at the local grocery store. And then as far as the smoke is concerned, I'm gonna be using some apple wood today and some pecan. So I'm gonna put both on the Weber. We're gonna smoke it for a couple hours and we're gonna see if we can't get some of this beautiful wood flavor inside of the chicken as well. There's so many ways that you guys can season a chicken when it comes to actually barbecuing it. I know that my wife doesn't actually like to eat the skin, so a lot of the times the flavoring on the outside doesn't matter a whole lot, but for me, I like the skin. I like the crispy skin. So today I'm gonna go actually really simple. I'm gonna do a salt, pepper, and garlic rub. That's about it. Other times I've done lemon garlic rubs or I've done other, barbecue rubs. But today we're just gonna do a very simple salt, pepper, and garlic rub. So let's get into it. So the first step is we gotta open up our chicken and we gotta prepare it, dry it off, rub some olive oil on it, and then get our seasoning on. So let's get in. Here's our chicken, and it's a great looking chicken. One thing to note, if you haven't bought a whole chicken before, and this goes for buying a whole turkey as well, you need to look inside of the chicken because that's where they hide some of the other pieces that they've cut off. So we pull out this bag here and pretend like I never saw it. All right, the next step I'm gonna do is actually trim up the chicken a little bit. Now there's usually a little bit of excess skin kind of around where the head used to be, sometimes around the tail. This typically happens as well when you're cooking like a turkey. There's a lot of excess. So I'm just gonna go ahead and take this bony knife here and just kind of snip off this little bit right here. I don't need it. And then observe the rest of the chicken. You just cut off a little bit of this section right here. And that's it. There's not a whole lot of trimming that you need to do, honestly, which makes it very simple. Now, the next step we need to do to prepare it for the seasoning is actually dry it off, because right now it's really wet, and if we put our seasoning on, it's not gonna stick. So let's go ahead and just take a couple paper towels and just pat down, so I can clean up my board in the process. All right, that's dry enough. So now we're gonna get into our seasoning. For this seasoning, like I said, we're just gonna do a simple salt, pepper, and garlic mix. I'm actually gonna do equal parts of all of them. So depending on how big of a chicken you have, or whatever it is you are cooking, you could do a beer can turkey, I guess. But depending on how big your chicken is, you may just do a teaspoon of each. I'm gonna do a tablespoon of salt, pepper, and garlic, and then we're just gonna coat the entire chicken and just let it sit out for a bit while we get the barbecue ready. And we're just gonna season and coat generously the entire chicken. I completely forgot. I forgot to actually rub down the chicken with some olive oil first. So I started putting seasoning on. I made a mistake. It's all right. It's cooking. Have fun with it. Put a little bit of olive oil on my chicken and I'm just gonna rub it around. The olive oil actually helps the seasoning stick to the chicken, but it also helps make for a nice crispy skin as well. So don't forget to put olive oil on your chicken. So now I can get back to seasoning this chicken. So I'm gonna put this back in the fridge for a little bit while we get the barbecue ready, because I don't want this to sit out too long. And I know that I have at least 10 to 15 minutes for my coals to get hot in my chimney. And again, I just don't want my chicken sitting out too long. And then we will position the chicken on the can and put it on the barbecue. All right, guys, for the barbecue setup, we're gonna go for an indirect heat. Now with chicken, I don't need to cook it for too long, but I do wanna make sure that I'm getting some of the flavor of the wood inside of the chicken itself. So the configuration that I've gone for right here is one charcoal basket filled up about 3/4 of the way with uncooked charcoal, and then I have my chunks of wood on top that will eventually light as the fire gets towards the other parts of the basket. Now inside my chimney, I've turned the chimney upside down so that I have a smaller basket, and I've just put in probably about 8 or 9 charcoals that I'm going to light with my fire starter, get these nice and hot, and then I'm going to place them inside the corner of my basket just to get this basket going. I'm going to put the lid on, get the lid temperature to about 275, 300, and then wait for it to stabilize a little bit. And then I'm gonna put the chicken on. So the barbecue is getting up to temperature. It's almost at the exact spot I want it to put the chicken on the barbecue. So we're now gonna put the chicken on our can. Now, in the past, I've cracked open a beer and placed it on my cutting board, popped the chicken on, and realized that during the cook, only about 1/4 of the liquid inside the can actually evaporates, meaning I wasted a perfectly good beer. So moving forward, I've learned to pour out one for my homies. You do still need a bit of weight in the can though, because that's what helps ground the chicken. So now that I have my can, got my drink off to the side, we're gonna pop the chicken onto the can, and then we're gonna transport this cutting board to the barbecue, where we will carefully balance it on the cooking grate. Now, they do actually have beer can chicken holders that help you position. I personally don't use one. I don't think you need one. You just kind of let the legs stick out. Let me just turn this around real quick so you can kind of see how I'm balancing this. So I'm gonna go and put this on the barbecue right now, as is, and then we're just gonna put our probe in to monitor the temperature. All right, I got my thermometer. I'm just gonna pop this into what appears to be the thickest part of the chicken, because I want that to be 165 degrees when it's all done. So let's transfer this over to the barbecue. I'll start the cooking process on my meter app, which again will tell me exactly when to pull it off at 165, and we'll go from there. We're back at the barbecue. My lid temperature is right at 300 degrees, which is great. I'm gonna open up the lid, pop this thing on there and position it, and then we're gonna close it back up and hopefully not touch it until the chicken thermometer reads 165. So the more you can keep that lid on, the better, especially since I have chunks of wood on there. So all that smoke is gonna penetrate the chicken and add a nice flavor to the chicken, which is what we're looking for. All right, guys, we are about an hour and a half into the cook, and I did not take my own advice and keep the temperature of the lid consistent around 300, 350. I thought I had to rush out the door and have dinner earlier than I thought, so I actually got my lid temperature up to about 450 degrees at some points in the cook, which arguably is too hot, but I'm more concerned about the internal temperature of the chicken itself, which we're almost there. So I just kind of wanted to show you guys, again, as you're learning to barbecue, as I'm learning to barbecue, this is exactly how it's gone for me so far. So it's at 158 degrees right now. The ambient is cruising at 315, which is much better than it was at 450 degrees, but that's okay. The skin on this thing is going to be crispy. The inside is going to be juicy. I may not have as much of the smoke flavor, but Again, I'm not as worried about it because I'm going to carve this chicken and put it into a salad, and it's going to be delicious. So we'll come right back to pull the chicken off the barbecue. All right, guys, our chicken temperature is right around 160 degrees. So I'm actually going to take it off and let it rest inside for a few minutes and let the resting process actually bring the temperature up to 165. So I'm going to come around, take the lid off. Get a look at that chicken for the first time. So as you can see, I didn't rotate the chicken, so the front of the chicken got most of the heat. But again, that's the thickest part, which I'm okay with. But the rest of the chicken got some great color as well. So let's put it on the cutting board, take it inside, and we'll take a better look at this thing. Well, we pulled the chicken off the barbecue. The internal thermometer was reading 165, which is absolutely perfect. It's actually reading a little less than that because when it's resting, it's actually slowly cooking itself. So I think I pulled it when it was 162 degrees, and now it's 165. So I'm going to go ahead and pull out this thermometer and take the can out of the chicken, cut into it, and we'll have our first taste. You can never be too safe. Smells like kombucha, actually. But I'm going to go ahead and cut into some of this meat here. Get some of that meat here. The skin, I mean, you guys can see. I mean, this thing is so juicy. And the skin, I'm going to go for a skin piece. That was so good. And the chicken. Honestly, that is so delicious. That is one of the better chickens I've had. I mean, it's so different than like buying some chicken breast and cooking it in a pan. You get the fullness of the smoke from the pecan and the applewood, and the seasoning and the slowness just allows all those flavors to kind of come together. And this is so good. I'm like acting a little surprised at how good it is. But guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I always have fun making a beer can chicken. I like it because it's easy. The process is really straightforward. Guys, subscribe, like this, do the little bell so that as I release new videos, you guys can come along this barbecue journey with me. But again, thank you so much for watching. Have a great day. All right.